Manchester United actually have a lot of talented players, but they also have a lot of problems. And most importantly, the majority of their players all have some glaring weaknesses. Let's start with the goalie, Senne Lammens. Now his biggest issue / weakness is inexperience. This is the first time that he's playing at the real top flight with a big club. Yes, he did well in the Belgian league, but it's a huge jump up from there to the Premier League, and more importantly, to a club like Manchester United. It's one thing if this guy signed for Wolves or West Ham, but at United, you're going to be under a bigger microscope. Your mistakes are going to get magnified. So there's way more pressure. You have to perform week in, week out. I mean, you've seen how it is with Manchester United. They win a couple of games in a row, everybody says they're back. They lose a couple of games in a row, and suddenly it's disaster. So he's coming into that environment and has to be the number one guy between the sticks. And I actually think he's done very well. In fact, the foundation of his goalkeeping is very solid. He's very calm. He's good at dominating his box. He's a great shot stopper. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. So the foundation is there. He just has to build on it. And the goalkeeping position is one of those positions where you're only going to get better with age. Usually, as you get more experience under your belt, you're going to become better and better. So once he gets used to his back line and playing in the Premier League and just getting more reps in, from saving more shots to coming out for crosses, he is going to develop. So they have a great young goalkeeper, but be aware that mistakes are going to happen. There are going to be issues as he develops and becomes better. Now, fortunately, based on his calm nature and the way he plays, you're not going to see howlers as much as you saw with Onana. So that's a plus, but that's a weakness to keep in mind. Let's go to the rest of the back four. Let's start with Luke Shaw. Now, Luke Shaw, his biggest weakness is inconsistency, as well as the fact that sometimes he has these defensive lapses. You see, Luke Shaw, he's been around forever. In fact, 10 years ago in 2015, if I told you that Luke Shaw was still starting for Manchester United, you would have thought that he's become this world-class player. Well, that's not true. Unfortunately, injuries have halted his development, but he just never became the guy that everybody thought he would become when he was this sought-after talent at Southampton. People thought he would be this unbelievable left back, basically like another Ashley Cole. It just didn't happen. Now, he's regained a lot of form as this left center back for Ruben Amorim. I think it fits his skill set, but it doesn't change the fact that he's an inconsistent guy. Sometimes he'll do a great job of locking up the opposition striker, he'll be very solid. Then other times he'll just get cooked, like what happened to him versus Doku when City played United. Sometimes he has these defensive lapses where he's not marking, where he gets beat too easily, and that's a massive issue because you can't be that hot and cold. And as you have seen with United, their back line and defending in general is one of their biggest issues. And part of that is because on a game-to-game basis, the individual quality of someone like Luke Shaw can fluctuate. So he's a great player on his day. As I stated, this left center back position really fits him at this stage of his career. But too many times, this guy can turn off. Then in the middle center back, we have De Ligt. Now, I actually like De Ligt a lot. I'm really happy to see him doing well because, again, very similar to Shaw, this is a player who was once very sought after. I mean, the guy was captaining Ajax to a Champions League semi-final at 18 years old. He just looked and played like a leader. Then he went to some big clubs like Juventus and Bayern Munich, but I never really felt that he fulfilled that potential that everybody saw in him when he was at Ajax. And then when he was sold to Manchester United, in the beginning, he struggled a little bit. So a lot of people thought, okay, this is another wonder kid who just never reached the heights that he could have. But now, Amorim has shown a lot of faith in him. He's very good in that center back position because he's excellent in duels. He's a big guy. He puts his body on the line and he's fine with the ball at his feet. De Ligt's biggest weakness is that he's not the most agile guy. That's always going to be a trade-off when you have these center backs who are built like fridges, because these guys are going to bully the biggest attackers. They're going to win you duels. They're going to put their body on the line. They're going to defend with their entire livelihood. But against more skillful and agile attackers, when they're put into positions where they have to track back or move laterally very quickly, they're going to struggle. It's a similar issue with Harry Maguire. Both of these guys are big, so they're a threat on set pieces and they're very good in the air. But if they play against someone agile, if they have to move left to right quickly, if they have to track back because United had a high line or they wanted to use an offside trap, they are going to struggle. They don't have the recovery speed. But like I said, on the other hand, and I'm putting Maguire under the same umbrella because his weakness is the same, these guys are excellent at blocking shots. They're really good against big target men, but moving laterally and agility is not in their forte. Then we have Lenny Yoro. His weakness is inexperience. Yes, he played in Liga, but again, when you play for Manchester United, it's a whole different beast. He's a great center back. Again, one of those players where when he was deciding to come to Manchester United, there were a lot of other clubs in for him. Real Madrid wanted him. So he's not some sort of bum by any means. He's a great center back with a lot of potential. The issue with him is just inexperience. You saw it with his mistake a few weeks ago. And the mistake wasn't even the issue. It was more his reaction to it. Because the fact that he was so emotional, number one, tells you he cares, which is a great sign because United fans have been begging to have players play for the club again. That actually care for the badge and about their performances. But number two, it told you that this guy is still dealing with how to manage pressure at the top level. Because it's one thing to make a mistake, it's another to really break down like that. You need to be able to move on. I mean, look at Harry Maguire. That guy has incredible mental strength. He'll make a mistake, but he'll bounce back right from it. Euro has to develop the same thing. I think Amorim also said that one of Euro's weaknesses is that he overthinks. But again, for me, that's linked back to the concept of inexperience. Once he plays more games, he's going to be more assured in his decisions and what he does on the pitch. Because again, he's a great center back. He has all the qualities. He's very comfortable on the ball. He's good in duels. He has that lanky frame that allows him to basically wrap around attackers with his tackle. He just needs to get more experience under his belt. And for United fans, it's the same thing as dealing with Lamens. As these guys develop, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to be perfect, but their ceiling is very high. Now, I put Heaven in the same bracket as this. Good center back, just inexperienced. And the center back position is just like the goalkeeper position. The more experience you get under your belt, the more games you play, the more reps you go through, the better you're going to get. So now we move to Mazraoui. Now, a big issue with this guy throughout his career has always been injury. I try and stay away from saying a player's weakness is injury history because they can't control that. But for some of these players, and as we will see later in the video, like a player like Mount, it's a glaring weakness. Availability is a massive factor, and Mazraoui has not played that much football. He's an excellent player. In fact, he's so good that he can play anywhere. Remember when Ten Hag played him as a number 10? He can play as a right wing back, he can play as a right center back. Amorim likes him at right center back, and I think he's very good there because again, he's another player who's very comfortable on the ball. He's good in duels. I would say his glaring weakness when he has played is at times he can get beat a little too easily 1v1. But I remember this was a bit of an issue when he was playing at Bayern as well. Sometimes he would just have these defensive lapses. But other than that, I think he's a quality player. And then the last guy I want to talk about in the backline is Lisandro Martinez. I would say his biggest weakness is aggression. I was gonna say his height, but to be honest with you, I think he does a great job in dealing with aerial duels. And as much as Jamie Carragher tried to make it a thing that he was too short for the Premier League,
the size of a 5'9" playing in a back four. Maybe he could go left back, maybe he could play in a back three, but in a back four, he cannot play there in the Premier League.
It just wasn't true, and I think most people that had watched him play would know it wasn't true. The guy dominated for Argentina at the Copa America. His best qualities, like his aggression, his footballing IQ, and how badly he wants to win the ball, all of that cancel out the fact that he's not the biggest guy. But his aggression can be a weakness too. It happens a lot with these South American players. They play with so much passion that on their day, that increased aggression and hostility helps them a lot, especially in the bigger games. But at times, he's flying into challenges too aggressively. He's lunging in when he should have backed off. So that's his only glaring weakness because again, I actually think the left center back position where Amorim was playing him is perfect for him because he's left footed, he's good on the ball, he's excellent in duels, especially in the ground. His issue is too much aggression, and you can maybe say his recovery speed, but again, I don't think he's a slow guy like a De Ligt or a Maguire in terms of moving laterally. I think sometimes he gets caught out because again, he's too aggressive. He wants to win the ball too much instead of, in certain situations, just containing the attackers. Now we move into the midfield/wing back positions. So let's start with Dogu. The glaring weakness in his game is once again inexperience. The Danish left wing back has not played that many games, and you can see it when he plays. He's very raw. I see what Amorim and the scouting team saw in him. There's flashes and moments where you really see that Nuno Mendes type potential from him at left wing back. Someone who has pace and power, I can carry the ball, and he has this unlimited engine. He works very hard up and down that left flank. But again, like I said earlier, he's raw. A lot of times he gets into the attacking third and he has no idea what to do with the ball. At times he's very limited with what he's doing with the ball himself. He's unable to beat his fullback. He's not able to get the best crossing even when he does sometimes beat the opposition. These things will develop in time. That is, if Amorim stays and they keep playing this guy as a left wing back, I think he'd make a good left back too. So he's got the work rate, he's got the engine, but he has to improve his qualities on the ball. He's not some technically excellent player, and he's never going to be a technically gifted player, but he has the raw tools to be able to develop into a top wing back that can give you a lot going forward, can help you defensively. So I see what the vision is for him, but until he gets to that point, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Then you have Dalot, and Dalot's biggest weakness is, of course, his footballing IQ. This is a guy who just gets completely lost when he gets into the attacking third. He shoots when he should have passed. He dribbles when he should have crossed. Again, it's tough not to play him because I understand why Amorim likes him. He works very hard. He's a good teammate. He's always challenging players, as in getting into duels and winning tackles. He's great on the defensive side, but it's just when he gets forward, when you give Dalot the ball in those attacking positions, which he ends up in because of the system that Amorim plays, he's not good there, especially when he's playing at left wing back where all he can do is cut in. At least when he's playing right wing back, he can just put in a cross and you pray. At left wing back, he's always going to cut inside, and either he's going going to put it out of Old Trafford or he's just going to lose the ball. Again, you can maybe blame Amorim's system. Why are you creating a setup where Dalot has so much burden creatively and going forward? But that is his biggest weakness, and a lot of times it's amplified because of Ruben Amorim's system. Then on the right wing, we have Amad. Now, Amad is a very good player. I like him a lot. I actually think that as time has gone by, I've realized that the right wing back position is better for him than right wing. His biggest weakness is physicality. It gets exposed a lot more when he's a right wing back as opposed to a right winger, but that's what it is. If he's back in the box defending and they get a big guy on the left hand side, he can just dunk on him on a back post header. They can bully him in duels. At his heart, this guy is a right winger. I mean, he's doing fine at right wing back because he can carry the ball and create opportunities, and it gives United an extra attacker. But defensively, he's always going to get put into positions where he can be exposed, whether that's losing a 1v1 situation just on the ground or having to deal with back post crosses. He's still an excellent player. I would say if you really want to be nitpicky about his offensive game, he can be more consistent in his output, not just increasing his goals and assists, but just making the right decisions when he gets into the final third. But I think that will get better as he gets more and more better players next to him. You've seen that as soon as Mbeumo has come in, Amad has been able to be more creative because there's somebody else ahead of him that can convert those chances into goals. So I would say his biggest weakness right now is the defensive qualities. In the central midfield, let's move to Bruno. Bruno is one of the most underappreciated players I've seen in the last 8 years. If he had joined any other club, he would have stacked trophies and we would be talking about his legacy very differently. I'm sure most United fans would consider him a legend when it's all said and done. I mean, the guy passed Paul Scholes in assists, playing a fraction of the games that Scholes did, and more importantly, doing it during one of the worst eras in Manchester United's history. Like, seriously, imagine this guy played with the likes of Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo and Carlos Tevez. But no, he came at a time where he had to set up Højlund and Garnacho. So he's a great player. Unfortunately, one of his biggest weaknesses, and this is true even when he was playing really well, and ever since he came to United, this has been a weakness. He has no ability to control the pace of a game. Bruno is just direct. As soon as he gets the ball, he wants to go forward, long ball and inshallah, try to get attacks going, and that's fine. If it works, and when it works, he becomes this goals and assist machine who starts these wonderful transition plays from deep. The problem is, especially when you're one of the double pivots in Amorim's 3-back system, you have to be able to change the tempo of games. You have to know when to slow things down, when to speed things up. And Bruno, I feel like, was never coached this when he came to United. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of players don't really develop at United. Bruno is actually the exception. I think most United fans would agree. Many top signings come and they either get worse or they stagnate. Bruno is one of the few big money signings that came. And not only did he not stagnate or get worse, he actually got better. So he has a lot of quality, but you cannot be this direct all the time. Because if you lose the ball, which happens a lot with Bruno, and it happens with any player that tries riskier passes, you are going to get punished in transition. So Bruno, he does a lot of things well. He can score goals, he can create for others. He's a wonderful creator, but it cannot be go all the time. You have to be able to have pause up, change the tempo of the game. He has to be able to do that if he wants to get into that elite echelon of central midfielders. Because he has a good work rate, he works hard without the ball, but his decision making can be improved. You don't always have to go long, you can keep it simple. Now, sometimes I don't really blame him for going long because it's one of the few ways that United can actually score. But it's very different when you're playing Bruno as a 10 versus one of the double pivots. You can risk more when you're the center attacking midfielder. You cannot do that when you're one of the only two center mids. Then next to him, Casemiro, I mean, his biggest weakness is age. He's done a great job in reviving his career. A lot of people like to make fun of Jamie Carragher for saying he should leave the football before the football left him, and it's a quote that hasn't aged well because obviously Casemiro has done a great job in rejuvenating his career. But at the time, Carragher was right. Casemiro looked finished physically. Maybe it wasn't the best way to talk about a guy who was a multiple-time Champions League winner, but he did look finished. Now he looks a lot better, and Amorim has tweaked the system so that Casemiro has less space to cover because he just doesn't have the legs that he used to have when he played for Real Madrid. He's still good in duels, he wins the ball, but he just can't cover ground. And then of course, another glaring weakness in his game has always been his ability on the ball. Again, before you guys start screaming in the comments, nobody's saying he's bad on the ball. He can still ping a nice long ball diagonally, he can break the lines at times, but on a consistent game-to-game basis, on a long time frame, like a whole season, there are going to be a lot of instances where Casemiro is going to let you down on the ball. That's the whole reason that Bruno is next to him. Casemiro's job, even at his best, was to win the ball and pass it off. Now at Madrid, he had Kroos and Modric. At United, he only really has Bruno, but that's always been his game. You don't want Casemiro doing too much on the ball because he will lose it. Again, even at his best, Casemiro was not some playmaking center defensive midfielder. He is great at winning the ball back. That's what he does. He used to be a lot better at it, but of course, Father Time is undefeated, so now he's doing the best he can with the legs that he has left. But it's an issue. Then we get to Kobbie Mainoo, and now I feel bad for this guy because he is a fantastic player who just isn't given any opportunities. And I understand it from Amorim's perspective. If he wants to play that double pivot system with a 3-back, Mainoo doesn't really fit in because he's not defensively as good as Casemiro. And then if he wants to play as the other guy, well, Bruno is ahead of him. And I think even if Bruno wasn't there, I don't think Amorim trusts Mainoo's ability to control the tempo of games. I just don't think he has any faith in him. I don't think he thinks that he can control the game through his dribbling, through his passing, which is a shame because in any other formation, Kobbie Mainoo would be incredible, especially in a 3-man. If they played a 4-3-3, he could play next to Casemiro and Bruno just fine. So I would say that Amorim sees his weakness as number one, Mainoo's defensive qualities. He's not the best at covering ground. He can win the ball, but he's not some defensive anchor. That's the only glaring weakness that I see in him, in my opinion, because when I see him on the ball, he's very good. I think a lot of people constantly use that Grimsby game as an example of why Kobbie Mainoo can't control the tempo of a game or have control over the midfield, but that's a small sample size. We've seen him do it for the England national team. We've seen him do it for United before. So I don't buy that premise. I think there's something behind the scenes that Amorim doesn't like about his game, and because he's not defensively the best and he doesn't cover ground well, he's never going to get that opportunity because he can't play in that Casemiro role, and Amorim isn't going to push Bruno to the number 10 role and then play Mainoo as one of the double pivots. Now I get it, some people get pissed because they think that United fans talk about Mainoo like he's the English Pirlo and he's this untouchable guy. Maybe he's not that good, but he's still a very quality central midfielder that I think would greatly elevate this United team, and it's not like they're playing unbelievable when he's not there. Last midfielder is Ugarte, and I mean, this guy's weakness is just his ability on the ball. He's so limited. Again, he's one of those players that can be a specialist in a specific role and specific system. I do think he's excellent at winning duels. He's a good defensive holding midfielder, but you give this guy any responsibility on the ball and he just crashes out. He cannot play those line breaking passes. He is not press resistant. He cannot ping any sort of competent pass on a regular basis. So it's great that he's good defensively, but he's basically the polar opposite of Kobbie Mainoo. He can cover ground well, he can win the ball, but he cannot do anything going forward. If you can mix him and Kobbie Mainoo's offensive capabilities, you would get a fantastic midfielder. Unfortunately, you can't do that in real life, but he's very limited. And it tells you how limited given the fact that Ruben Amorim used to coach him at Sporting, but then he dropped him to play a Casemiro who's in his mid-30s almost. So now we move on to the attackers. First, I want to start with Matheus Cunha. His glaring weakness is that he can be too selfish. Now, personally, I love players with a bit of footballing arrogance, as Jamie Carragher likes to call it. And I think Manchester United have always had players like that, so Cunha, he fits that DNA. But at times, this guy just tries to do too much. Maybe it's because it's his new club and he wants to showcase his abilities. The other reason is that he's one of the few players that can actually carry the ball, so there's always going to be a risk of him holding onto it too much. But his decision making can be better. A lot of times he holds onto it for way too long when he could have sent someone through. And I think if he does that more and he improves his decision making, his goals and assists will go up drastically because he is an excellent carrier of the ball. He does work very hard. He's got a great strike on him, but he needs to be more decisive and better in the attacking third when it comes to deciding when he's going to shoot and when he's going to pass, when to be the creator, when to be the carrier. Then at striker, we have Xerxes. Xerxes' glaring weakness is he needs to be more clinical in front of goal. I'm glad that Amorim is giving him more opportunities because I thought as soon as United brought on Mbeumo and Cunha, Xerxes was the perfect guy to play with those two because those are two guys that can give you goals from the winger position, from those left and right number 10 positions that Amorim likes to call it. So what a perfect player to complement those two than a false 9 type striker. And that's what Xerxes is. He's got great hold up play. He's a good creator. He's just not one of those strikers that scores a lot of goals. And I know that sounds like an insult because what kind of striker doesn't score? But he's very much a Firmino-esque player. He can get goals, but he's a creator first. Now that specialized skill set can be very valuable if used properly. And I feel like United now finally have the personnel to play those guys around him. He couldn't really be the false 9 type striker when the guy next to him was Garnacho. But Mbeumo and Cunha can give you goals. They're direct. They can get him behind. So hopefully we see more of Xerxes. Then Šeško is the polar opposite of Xerxes. He needs to improve at being clinical in front of goal as well, but he is a goal scorer. But on the other hand, he's not great with his build-up play and his hold-up play. Whenever somebody pings a ball into him, it's basically a 50-50 whether he's going to take a nice touch under control or if his second touch is going to become a tackle. That's the problem with Šeško, on top of course, inexperience. He still needs to develop. He didn't play that many Bundesliga games before making the jump to United. And once again, as I've stated multiple times in this video, making that jump to a club as big as Manchester United is huge. Even for players like Cunha and Mbeumo who have played for clubs in the Premier League, it's still a massive jump. You're under a bigger microscope. So Šeško needs to improve his hold-up play because he's excellent in the air and he's always going to be a presence in the box, but he has to be more clinical. He has to be better with his back to goal because United are relying on him to be the target man. He's pretty much the only target man profile in the team because like I told you guys, Xerxes, he can be a target man, but he's more of a creator. Šeško is an out-and-out 9. and he needs to improve all areas of his game if he wants to be the guy that's going to lead United back to glory. Then we have Mbeumo, and his biggest weakness is that he's bald. No, I'm joking. I gotta be a little bit nitpicky with Mbeumo because I think he's a very good right winger. I'd say his weakness is his right foot. I think his decision making can be a bit better in the attacking third. Again, I'm being nitpicky. And then just being better on the defensive end. But again, he works very hard. Sometimes he has these lapses when he's tracking back. It's not a glaring weakness, but again, like I stated earlier, I'm being nitpicky because he's actually United's best player. Well, Bruno is, but Mbeumo's right up there. He offers a lot of things that United didn't have. A goal-scoring outlet at that right wing position. He's good at getting in behind. Good at finishing the ball. He can carry the ball like Cunha. It's so nice for them to have two wingers in that left hand, right hand position that can actually run at players and beat them. The only thing with Mbeumo is he can be more clinical, he can make better decisions in the final third, and of course, doing more with his right foot. Then you have Mason Mount, and Mount, again, he's one of those players where his biggest weakness is really his availability and injury history. He hasn't been on the pitch that much, so he's never had that consistency to actually develop ever since joining Manchester United. You could say his physicality is a weakness too, sometimes he can get bullied, but I actually think Mount is a really good player who just needs to play games consecutively to get back into the rhythm of things. Then once he's played a lot of games, we can actually analyze his issues, because when somebody hasn't been on the pitch for so long, he doesn't really have many strengths and weaknesses, he just has to play. It's Ruben Amorim's job to balance out the strengths and weaknesses of this squad and try and get him to that next level. Is he the right guy to do it? Only time will tell, but he has a specific game plan. To see Ruben Amorim's game plan for bringing United back to glory, you have to watch this video right here.